What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 46 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. I've been talking about Paul Dini books for the last couple of days, so I thought I would continue that and talk about Madame Mirage. This is a mini-series from Top Cow that came out about 10 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, written by Paul Dini, like I said, with art by Kenneth Rocafort. And this is, I think the best way to describe it would be a modern noir kind of story. It's not really noir, more like two-fisted pulp, kind of like The Shadow or The Green Hornet, characters like that. This is a very technological take on those kinds of characters. And I like Paul Dini. I bought this book basically because Paul Dini wrote it. I will pretty much buy anything that he's involved with most of the time, and I knew basically nothing about this book, but I knew that he wrote it, so I bought it, and I really like it. Now, I will go ahead and say I am not a huge fan of Rocafort's art. You probably recognize him. He's done some Superman stories. He's done, I think he did Red Hood and the Outlaws for the New 52. I'm not a fan of his artwork. I've never really liked his art, and I do feel like this book would have been much, much better. I would have enjoyed it a lot more if it had just about any other artist on it. And Rocafort's style really fits the Top Cow, I want to say house style. There's a lot of artists who have worked for Top Cow, and they all kind of sort of have a similar style, and I guess that's why he was paired with Rocafort to do this story. Maybe he chose Rocafort. I don't know. I don't really know a lot of the ins and outs of how this story was done, but I do wish they had had a different artist. It doesn't make this story awful or anything, but I'm still not a crazy fan of Rocafort's work. Having said that, the story is still really good. I have very few problems with the actual story. Basically, you've got this character, Madame Mirage. She is hunting down all these supervillains who basically stopped being supervillains and became legitimate businessmen. I'm using a lot of air quotes in this video. Anyway, I'm just going to keep going. So these supervillains, they became legitimate businessmen, and Madame Mirage is basically trying to take this business down, and then we find out why she's trying to take this business down about halfway into the book, and that's probably my only complaint, is that this is a 6-issue miniseries. It's in issue 3 that we find out the backstory for Madame Mirage. I personally would have rather we had gotten that backstory in issue 2. Maybe have issue 1 just kind of set everything up. She kills one of the people working for this company, and then we find out kind of the backstory of this world, that there were superheroes, and then they all got arrested, and then the supervillains became a corporation. We can find out all of that stuff in issue 1, and then in issue 2 we can get the backstory of this character, and we can get the big twist about this character. And I'm not going to reveal the twist. I'm going to let you read the book to find out what the twist is. But I wish we had gotten that sooner than issue 3. I think that issue 3 is dragging it out just a little bit too much. But that's not a deal breaker. And the other minor gripe that I had with this book is that Madame Mirage, she has an ally in the FBI who was friends with her before she became a superhero. And he's introduced about halfway into the book in issue, I want to say issue 4. He doesn't really get a whole lot to do. He's kind of introduced late in the game, and I feel like he should have been introduced earlier or had more to do. And I understand that if he had gotten more to do, then that would have pushed Madame Mirage further out of the role of protagonist, so I don't really know how to fix that. But as is, he feels like he's not really necessary. Like he's just there to be an agent of the law. There I go again with the finger quotes. He's just there to be part of the law so that he can arrest the bad guys near the climax of the book. And I will say that that happens. That's a small spoiler, but you probably knew that the good guys win here. But he doesn't really have a whole lot to do other than that. He has a personal connection to the hero, but I don't feel I get anything from him as far as characterization goes, if that makes any sense. I do wish that this had gotten a sequel. And it's weird because this is volume 1 of Madame Mirage, and Dini does set up some stuff here that feels like it could have been paid off in a sequel, especially relating to the twist that I'm not talking about. There's some stuff that he's setting up that could have been fun to explore, and Madame Mirage's relationship with this FBI guy, you could have given him more to do in sequels, and I felt like it would have been less egregious that he didn't get a whole lot to do here if you'd given him more to do in later volumes. But it's really weird that he does this volume, and yes, all of the bad guys that Madame Mirage are tackling, they're all dealt with in this volume, but you could have had her go after other supervillain corporations, because at the beginning of this book, it kind of makes it seem like there are multiple corporations of all these supervillains who stopped being villains and went legitimate. Once again, finger quotes. It seems like there's multiple corporations out there, so maybe you could have Madame Mirage go after other bad guys who didn't necessarily wrong her like the bad guys did in this volume. So it's really weird to me that it kind of feels like he's setting this up to be a world that he's going to be playing in for a while, but then he only does one volume, and I haven't even heard that many people talk about this series other than what I mentioned, like when it first came out. I was hearing a little bit of buzz about it because Paul Dini was involved with it. But I like this book quite a bit. I did have just a couple minor problems with it, but overall, I really enjoyed it. If you are a fan of characters like the Shadow or the Spider or the Green Hornet, characters like that, this is, in my opinion, a very successful modern take on those kinds of characters. I think that you guys would probably enjoy this book if you enjoy those kinds of characters and stories. So I would recommend checking out Madame Mirage, Volume 1, and that's all that I have to say about this book. I hope that you guys liked this video. If you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow with another video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.